Coming home is not easy. Reintegration is not about putting yourself back into society, but it's about society accepting you back. As an injured veteran, the founder of Purple Heart Homes found out that reintegration wasn't possible alone. It takes a village, and we build villages one home at a time.
I'm John Galena, co-founder of Purple Heart Homes. We started Purple Heart Homes in 2008 as a result of the way we were welcomed home. After being in Iraq in 2004 with my battle buddy Dale Beatty, our vehicle struck 2 anti-tank landmines while doing a routine route clearance into Fallujah. And it resulted in traumatic brain injury and other injuries for myself, and ultimately a double amputation for my battle buddy Dale. When we returned home, our community here in Statesville, North Carolina, came together. The churches, the local home builders association, friends and family, and many veterans across many different eras to build Dale and his family a safe and accessible home. At the end of that project, we looked at each other and said, wow, this has to be a best case scenario. But look at all these other veterans that are standing out here in the crowd that contributed and were a part of helping make this a great homecoming, and to be able to provide a home that would prove to be a great solution for Dale and his family to allow him to live his best life. We said, how can we replicate this idea? How can we replicate this experience for other veterans? Not just those that served in Iraq or Afghanistan, but those that served in Vietnam or Korea, World War II, or any generation in between. And that's when we set out to start Purple Heart Homes.
At Purple Heart Homes, our mission is to honor those who served by providing housing solutions and employment opportunities to qualified veterans, to provide a home where a veteran can live his or her best life. With 15 years of building homes and renovating homes for veterans, Purple Heart Homes has become more than a mission to help veterans. It's become a purpose and a way of life. The ability to help those who are less fortunate allows us to make a difference in someone else's life and beyond. At Purple Heart Homes, we work to provide veterans freedom, the freedom of movement and the freedom of choice.
A big part of getting back to living is doing therapy. I had to start playing drums again because I had done that before. Purple Heart Homes is a 501c3 public charity founded by John Galena and myself. And we are 100% veteran-owned and operated. We're both combat wounded veterans. And today we're out here for a Vietnam veteran, Kevin Smith, who is looking at some decreased mobility in the near future.
We want to make the lives of people who have served our great nation better. We make a difference in the life of a veteran, and that makes a difference in our communities. We share our time, our talents, and support those who have served. Our mission, to improve the lives of service-connected, disabled veterans.
From Cabarrus County, North Carolina, the Sim Racers Edge IndyCar Series is ready to battle in NASCAR's backyard. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Charlotte Motor Speedway. The first road course race of the season went as expected, with one ringer dominating the race. Nate Siefker led 52 of the 70 laps at Watkins Glen to take his second win of the season. Reed Sweeney, meanwhile, finished in second with his best finish of the season, and Butch Davis rounded out the podium, coming home in third. Chad Simpson still holds a 21-point lead over Bentley Glaser in the championship standings as we get back on the ovals at the home of NASCAR, Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina. I'm Dave Regal, alongside my partner in crime, Mr. Greg McConey, and we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, on Sim Racing Media. And Greg, it is a pleasure. This is our third race in a row working together. As you and I, we went from we really don't get to work together often enough to now I think you've had enough of me. And listen, so far so good here in the Sim Racers Edge IndyCar season. These drivers are incredible.
Oh, yeah, they are, Dave. And I love being in the booth with you. No matter what anybody says, you're a great person, you're a great broadcaster, and you are fun to hang out in the booth with. Especially tonight, like you said, we're at Charlotte in the IndyCars. I love this track.
Who are these people and what are they saying?
So much fun.
Who are these people and what are they saying?
Oh, you don't need to know. I don't drop names. I could drop you phone numbers after, but I won't drop the names on air.
All right, that's fine. I want their names. Yes.
Okay. You'll get names.
Possibly their mother's maiden name. There's about to be some bad things.
Ooh, are we really going that far?
It's early. Why not? Speaking of early and why not, looks like qualifying about to get underway. Here's the thing. We can look at some of the fast times here in practice. I'm just going to pull these up real quick. As, at this point in the evening, you're going to see during practice, a lot of guys using that race trim. But Mike Grandy was fastest during practice with Chris Walker and Scott Rankin, your top three in practice. Right now, as we get ready for qualifying, about a dozen drivers now getting themselves out on track, getting warmed up here for qualifying. Why don't you take us through a little bit about what the setup deal is here at Charlotte as we take a look at Timothy Emmanuel?
Yeah, so tonight's race is going to be a very interesting. The big thing to remember is with the high banks, there's going to be a lot of speed. Multi-groove racing is going to be huge here. But the other big thing to remember is right now they've got a 5-mile-an-hour headwind coming out of turn 4 and going into turn 1, which is really going to kind of change the balance of these cars. What you're going to see a lot of guys being able to do is dive into turn 1 at full speed and kind of be able to hold the corner and be wide open, versus coming in 3 and 4, you're going to have to blip the throttle. You're going to have to change the way that you are coming into and exiting the corner, because this car gets so tight once you hit that headwind. As to me, Timothy Emmanuel right now sits in, 6th place? Yeah, he's in 6th place right now. He's on his second lap. Getting ready. His last lap was a 24.79. You saw him take the high line as he's now rolling towards this middle bottle coming out of turn 4. He's going to come across the line here, and he will jump up to his same position. Did not improve on that second lap.
Speaking of improving, Carl Burke, Big Daddy, driving the number 53 Captain Morgan machine tonight. The 65-year-old out of Pasco, Washington. He's got this machine cooling down now after his qualifying effort. He finishes in 6th, As looking here at P2, Nate Siefker in the number 1 machine, getting it done here. Look at the speeds that they're carrying. 219 miles an hour into the corner as he rolls out of turn 4. He's crossing the start-finish line at 2:15.
Speeds are going to be so fast here. It's not as quick as what we were seeing at Auto Club a couple weeks ago to start the season. But right now, like you said, these guys are going to be 215, 220 range. Once you get in the draft, you're easily looking 220, 225 for some of these guys. And you're going to have to be on your toes. Like we say every week, you have to be on your toes here, because yes, you can get 2, maybe 3 wide racing. You don't want to do it on corner entry. and you especially don't want to be more than 2 wide coming through this tri-oval.
Yeah, the tri-oval 2 wide is dangerous, even at 160 miles an hour, 160, 170 when we're in, truck series. But my goodness, in this, I'm fairly certain that we aren't going to see 3 wide unless somebody's trying to wreck their evening.
Yeah, and the thing that we've heard from the drivers pre-race is that these cars have a lot of right side tire wear. So that's going to be key, which means when that's the case, you have to get all you can early on in the run. If you don't, you're going to be struggling the rest of the night because everybody's essentially going to be at the same level as you on tire wear for the most part.
Well, now speaking of tire wear, one of the differences that we're going to see tonight is we aren't going to have all of that the compound difference like we did at Watkins Glen with the red tires, so on and so forth. Why don't you take us through a little bit of the grip situation as we're going to take a look right now at our race conditions on track. Folks, take a look at this. 78 degrees, the outdoor ambient air temperature, 47% humidity. It is a comfortable night here in Concord, North Carolina. Quite frankly, this is the kind of night where maybe you can show up in shorts and a T-shirt, and by the end you're thinking maybe I should have bought that hoodie down there at the merch trailer. 79-degree track temperature. So if we were running stock cars, I'd say we were going to be pretty grippy. But now what say you as far as these Delaras?
Yeah, you're going to have the same feeling. There's going to be a lot of grip in this track, which is going to really help, increase the speeds and keep that all rolling. But it's going to put so much more strain on that right front tire that you really have to be careful, and you have to adjust the setup. Like we've said for the last few weeks, these guys have an adjustment in their car where they as the ballast within the car, as qualifying has now come to an end. These guys are going to jump into their warm-up session. So you have to be staying ahead of it and knowing that what you were running in practice, especially now that you're running this as a night race, there's no sun to heat the track. It's not going to get warmer. As we check through the night, it's probably going to, I know they run a constant weather with a little variation. So that track temp won't go down too much, but it's not going to get hotter.
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, once the sun is down, it doesn't get much more down. But it's kind of like once you're wet, you're pretty much wet. You can't get more wet. The only thing that can make you wetter is, if you have like AFFF foam, that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, let's take a look here at the qualifying results on your screen. Of course, we'll run through these again. But Chad Simpson, Butch Davis, Chris Simard, Dan Brazington, and Scott Rankin round out the top 5 here atop the pile. Jeff Hollingsworth, Bentley Glaser, Lyle Swearingen, Nate Siefker, Michael Sturgill finish out the top 10. And, we're just going to focus on that top 10 for right now, as the other thing we want to talk about right now, Greg, is our point standings. As I mentioned earlier, right now, Chad Simpson only holding off Bentley Glaser by 21 points right now. And Butch Davis is just 7 points just 6 points behind Glaser. Then Siefker is 6 points behind Davis. I mean, things are hairy in these standings. I mean, Chad Simpson has 1 pole and 2 wins. The next closest driver is Siefker with 2 poles and 2 wins. And, you got to think after a while, Greg, that it's going to get real ugly real fast if somebody's trying to go for a win here.
It is, and you don't have a lot of room for mistakes on this track. Like I was saying before, there's not a lot of room where if you do something wrong that you're not taking yourself and the rest of the field out with you. This you can compare to a Talladega Daytona where the big one is prominent. And that's what everybody talks about. It takes one wreck and one wrong move that could end everybody's night. So the points are going to be something to keep in mind. But the other thing these drivers have to remember, these points are season long. A win, unlike a NASCAR playoff style, does not get you in. You have to race all season long. So that 21 points that Bentley Glaser's out, in the scheme of things, if Simpson misses a race, Glaser jumps him. It's that simple. So even with those 2 wins that Simpson has, like we saw, he had a little bit of trouble last week, But Bentley Glaser's just been consistent. He's been running in the top 5, top 10. This is race 5. Bentley Glaser has finished both races in the top 5, or all 4 races in the top 5. And consistency can beat out win long points battle.
Well, here's the thing with Bentley Glaser, and I can't stress this enough. A lot of the drivers in this league come from another place called the Western States Racing League. Perhaps you've heard of them. They're in season number 47. They run 2 a year. They're currently in the 2nd season of 2022. And excuse me. And Bentley Glaser, Jeff Hollingsworth, Paul Crumry, and I just lost him, Carl Burke in the 53. These drivers already run together on a Tuesday night, occasionally on a Friday night. We're going to see some of those things bubble through. Now, Bentley Glaser is the defending champion over in the Western States Racing League. Now on Tuesday nights, they have a fixed truck setup. And, you have to remember, when you're in a fixed setup, even like here in the Indy cars, you're talking about driver skill. You're not talking about how good is my setup. Did you get it? Did you build the setup yourself, or did you go to one of these, fine folks that build them and sell them for, a reasonable fee, or sometimes unreasonable? Everybody's got the same chassis setup right now as the other guy.
Yeah, you do. And speaking of setup shops, VRS, one of the sponsors for this league, do very great. They make very good setups. So what these guys do is they run I won't call it, it's a fixed open set is the way that I tend to call it. Meaning it's fixed that everybody has the same setup, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the iRacing fixed setup that these guys would run, during the week at Charlotte or whatever. So yeah, like you said, this is all about your skill, because these cars are very susceptible to damage, major damage. But it's based on your skill and the adjustments that you can make in the car. So it takes a lot good here, and that's why you see the best drivers running up front. But even though they're the best, the level of competition in this is so high, Dave.
It absolutely is. And some of these drivers finally getting into their cars as we're getting ready to grid up here. What do you say we get ready to go through that starting field? Chad Simpson going to sit on the pole. We're waiting for him to get in his number 42 Dallara machine, as Butch Davis also waiting here. Bear with us, folks. Chad Simpson waiting on you. Chad Simpson and Timothy Bates now. Chad Simpson, there he is. Let's take a look at our pole sitter, Chad Simpson from Frisco, Texas, 34 years old, sitting atop the pile tonight. He's going to have Butch Davis on the outside of row number 1. Butch Davis, of course, from Upper Deerfield, New Jersey. Row 2 going to be made up of Chris Simard from Plainstow, New Hampshire in the 77. Dan Brazington on his outside in the 29. Row 3 made up of Scott Rankin and Jeff Hollingsworth in the number 97. Row number 4, Bentley Glaser, the 33-year-old driver of the number 4, with Lyle Swearingen from Fontana, California, on his outside in 8th position. Nate Siefker, last week's winner from Ottumwa, Iowa, is on the inside of row number 5, with Michael Sturgill rounding out the top 10 from Cincinnati, Ohio. Greg?
Dan Inch is going to start in 11th, with Tyler Lugo Vickery in 12th. 13th, Jeffrey Roulette and Tim Bates. Row 8 will be Joe Bricky and Carl Burke. Row 9, Nicholas Starling, Timothy Emmanuel. Row 10, Paul Cremery and Chris Walker. Starting in 21st tonight, the last car to make a qualifying attempt was Mike Grandy, and Ernie Ludwig starts outside row 11. Row 12, Jarl Brupatcher and Mark McFadden. Finally, row 13, Kevin O'Brien and Shane Loveridge makes your 26-car field here tonight.
167 laps, the scheduled distance tonight in Concord, North Carolina. The iRacing.com pace car lights are out, and you know what that means, Greg, as we get ready to roll here out of the turn 3-4 complex. Ladies and gentlemen, call a friend, grab some popcorn, and settle in because we are green flag racing here in Concord, North Carolina.
Yeah, big run from the inside line of Chad Simpson. Does a great job to get out front. Now he's got Butch Davis and Chris Simard racing for second place. They're going to get a big run on that high side down the backstretch. Will Davis, as he's going to try and get to the outside, of Chad Simpson coming out of turn 4. The big thing to remember here, as you saw it right there, Simpson had to check up, and that gave Butch Davis that run on the outside. I jumped in, Dave, so you know, as we go tonight, I jumped in with these guys and ran a few laps. Turns 1 and 2, you can pretty much run wide open. 3 and 4, you have to lift and not run it wide open, even when you're in clean air.
Wow. Well, that's definitely going to change things tonight. Even as I'm looking here at Dan Brazington in the number 29 Pennzoil machine, we see him holding here on the low side. He's got Chris Simard in the 77 Pennzoil machine. He has Dan Brazington in the Wicks machine on his high side. We were talking before the race that sometimes it's hard to see who has what sponsor on these machines because of how small the bodies are. But Simard and Brazington still exchanging blows here atop the pile. Looks like Butch Davis is now going to be your race leader as Chad Simpson has dropped back into second. And that should decide to put these guys in single file, at least, through a good portion of this piece. As, you don't want to burn it up too fast too early. Even as I say that, Hollingsworth here in the 97, working on the inside. Now we're just about 3 wide, Greg.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of 2 wide and guys poking their nose to get 3 wide. And as you talked about guys going single file, I'm watching Butch Davis and Chad Simpson throw haymakers at each other, especially going into 3. They just keep swapping the lead in 3. And this is a heck of a battle. And you're going to see the draft play such a key part all night long with guys going down that backstretch.
Yeah, the backstretch here can become an absolute wind tunnel, and we can see everybody going single file with the exception of Jeff Hollingsworth, who takes the low side. You were talking earlier about the grip that these cars have. You hardly even see that car tightening up as he comes out of 4 and into the tri-oval. If this were a stock car, I know that we would see nothing but tightness coming out of there. Right now, looking at Scott Rankin in the 56, trying to chase down Hollingsworth and Brazington. And it looks like Hollingsworth going to get the advantage right now over Rankin. My goodness, it's like everywhere I'm looking here on the timing sheet, somebody is side by side with another driver as Jeffrey Roulette is now chasing down Mike Grandy. Grandy getting just a little bit of an edge at the start-finish line over him. I'll tell you what, everybody is pretty tight through looks about 8 laps now as the yellow flag is out.
Yellow has come out. Hollingsworth has crashed, trying to get back. Oh, we've got a big wreck, it looks like.
Oh, my. Well, let's take a look. The first one we're going to look at here is Jeffrey Roulette in the 66. We see him in that orange machine chasing down Lyle Swearingen.
Oh, wow.
It was a checkup. Oh, my.
There was a, at least on my screen, Jeff Hollingsworth had a major bit of netcode with somebody that was completely gone. There was no car, and then all of a sudden Hollingsworth just got obliterated by netcode, and it shot him up into the wall.
And you can see that right here in the middle of your screen. My goodness. Hold on. Let me run this back once more as Hollingsworth. We're going to show it right here in the middle of your screen, that white and purple machine. I can't see who that was that blinked out.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet.
Give me 1 second here. Let's see if we can make this happen, Captain.
But
that is the 56 of Scott Rankin.
Yeah, and that's, you never want to see it, and especially at a place like this where there's, if an accident happens, there's not a lot of room to escape.
No, and just as Hollingsworth was sliding down the track, sitting there on the brake. Oh, it's almost like my 4-year-old just took all of his cars and he smashed them together here coming out of 2.
Yeah, and that's what this track leads to. Sadly, you hate to see it, you hate to have that happen, but that's exactly how it goes. You know, that's a great analogy. Is how do I say it? These cars have great handling. The braking on them, the downforce and the aero on these cars is fantastic. But that doesn't mean they can come to a complete stop in a matter of seconds. You know, in a couple tenths of a second, I should say. They take time. You know, you can make the move, and what I was watching a little bit further back with like Carl Burke and such was the second wreck happened, and the majority of the wreck happened of guys trying to avoid roulette spinning. And
We're going to take a look right here. Now, of course, Carl Burke is going to be in this red and white Captain Morgan machine on the right-hand side of your screen. And we see what's happening in front of him, or he sees what happens in front of him. He's got a couple of cars that go down, and there's no place to go. And, of course, you know, as I was talking earlier to Dan Ench before we went on air, you know, he said once these cars on their trajectory choose where they're going, it's a real pain in the tuchus to try to get it to point a different direction until you're under control again.
it is, and like we said, these cars can make moves that stock cars and you know, the trucks or any other NASCAR car cannot make. So, but that it doesn't, you can't change in an instant. You know, it's the same thing that your parents or driving instructors told you growing up when you're driving down the highway. Never cut a semi off.
Oh, I thought it was go fast and protect your butt.
Well, you got to watch it, because if something happens and you put yourself in a position, you know, in front of a semi, cars stop faster than semi. So, and it's the same scenario with this. Cars that are in the draft, with the dirty air, as it's known, coming over the nose of this car, it affects the handling. And when you have dirty air, the car doesn't want to turn as well. And not only does it not turn as well, but that air is also used for braking. So with the air coming over the nose of the car, it actually helps push the nose down, and the car brakes better. So if you have worse air over the nose, not only does it handle horribly, but it won't brake right. And it's so critical at a place like this to keep clean air. And I preach it every week. Being the technical guy I am, I preach it every week. Clean air is king on these cars, especially on that right front tire, because it helps you turn and it helps you brake. As we're getting ready to come back to the green flag here, Dave, lap 12 of 167, we're taking 13 at the line. Still a long way to go tonight. And as of right now, your top 8 have not come down pit road. Chad Simpson's going to lead us to green as the pace car takes the left-hand turn. Simpson waits, stacks the field back up behind him. Green flag is out. Here goes Chad Simpson with a great restart. Butch Davis does a fantastic job of anticipating when Simpson was going to leave. And Chris Samard, sitting back in third, had a little bit of a hiccup, but that front three has pulled ahead of Brazington and Rankin by about a second.
No, we can see this front three has pulled away by quite a distance. In fact, nearly 1 full second between Samard and Rankin. Now, just as you get behind Rankin, that's where things get a little hairy. As right now, Nate Siefker, we can see right here, if the camera would cooperate with me, Nate Siefker here in that number 1 rainbow-looking car here. He's chasing down Scotty Rankin in the 56, and, of course, Rankin had been the one that blinked out and caused the net code before. Of course, I shouldn't say caused the net code. Net code, I feel like, is more like a ghost. It's not necessarily about causing it, but needless to say, Rankin was the one that blinked when the net code had occurred earlier. So maybe we're going to see Siefker take it a little easy as he is now behind him. Most of the field going single file now. One of the closer battles here is Tyler Vickery chasing down Michael Sturgill. Sturgill has a little bit of an edge on him, but not very much. Everybody else fairly spread out. Nothing serious now, even as Timothy Emmanuel is chasing down Kevin O'Brien back here in this battle for 16th.
Yeah, and a lot of guys right now, we're 16 laps in, as Butch Davis up front is trying to make the pass under Chad Simpson and will complete it. Like we said, we heard a lot of these guys complaining pre-race about right side tire wear. The tire model that iRacing has is very close to the real life scenario where if you are able to quote unquote baby those tires for about 3 to 5 laps, they end up lasting longer on the long run. So being able to go single file allows you to find that little bit of clean air, keep some air on your nose, and protect that right front tire. And the more you do that, the earlier on in the run, the better you set yourself up for long run, as Simpson is still trying to look ahead of Butch Davis. And looking a little further back, Dan Inch has just made the pass on Nick Starling for, I believe that is 12th? 13th?
Yeah, and now with 13th on his bedpost here, he's looking to notch that back out and go after Chris Walker, as he's only behind Walker by about 0.4 of a second here in the Alzheimer's awareness number 52 machine. Of course, the end Alzheimer's machine, very near and dear to his heart as what he's dealing with at home. So we can't do anything except for support that particular cause, as I know that I've lost 2 grandparents to the disease, and I'm sure that he is out here proudly presenting this particular paint scheme. Now, as we look a little bit further up the field, Nate Siefker just 0.3 of a second ahead of Scotty Rankin, as finally Siefker was able to get around him. Hollingsworth right now still down on pit road getting some repair done. So Ernie Ludwig, 19 cars on the lead lap, and Ernie Ludwig is last as Butch Davis is desperately trying to chase down Chad Simpson here for the lead.
Yeah, he is. And I'm hearing a lot of guys, I have the in-race chatter up a little bit. I'm hearing a lot of guys talk about dirty air, where they're saying, I'm not trying to get this big run. We're 22 laps into a race. We have 145 laps to go. I'm not trying to make the move. I'm just simply trying to get to the next pit stop. And that's critical right now, especially with these guys hitting. I'm looking at Butch Davis right now on our screen. He hit 220. Samard hit 224 going into turn 4 there, or into turn 3. So the speeds are up, the tensions are high, and we're 23 laps in, and these guys are already talking and, chatting with each other of just, I want air. That's all I want. I'm not making a move now. It's too early. I'm not doing anything stupid. I just need air.
Yeah, 222 miles an hour into turn number 1 for Butch Davis, and now as he's rolling back into the quad oval, you can see that in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, folks. 216 miles per hour at the start-finish line, 221 this time into turn 1. So the speeds that these guys are reacting to right now are completely unheard of in most of iRacing, at least for those of us that are more stock car oriented, shall we say. And, these front 3 have now pulled away to about 0.9 of a second over Siefker. Meanwhile, looks like Tyler Vickery just got himself around Joe Brickey, as now they are side by side going into turn 1. These drivers are getting ready to just go at it with the hammer and tongs out tonight, as Vickery still holding his ground behind Brickey, and we can see him getting a little loose behind Brickey in that dirty air that you were just talking about, Greg.
It is, and this has been a heck of a fight. I've enjoyed watching Sturgill, Vickery, and Brickey fighting it out right now, as we see the pass come underneath from behind. No, that wasn't Walker. That was Bentley Glaser looking to the inside and trying to follow Michael Sturgill around Tyler Vickery. But we talk about dirty air. What it is, for those that don't know, while we have this battle going up on screen, dirty air is essentially if you're out front, don't have a car in front of you, the air is hitting you essentially in a straight line coming back to you. I wish iRacing or OBS had a way that we could show the effects of the air and all that on cars, but I'll do my best to explain it. So if you're out front, air's coming over the nose in a straight line, and it's coming off the back in the way to in a wave, you know, kind of like you would see a kid drawing an ocean. You just see the little lines.
Ooh, they make a
and
little
down.
contact here.
There's and when you're there's a wreck. Joe Bricky.
Sturgill and Bricky just got into it. There was a little bit of contact earlier, and they just finally bought it. We're going to take a look back at this as we're now under caution. Just as you were talking about dirty air, it's like all hell just broke loose for Sturgill and Bricky. We're going to see the initial contact that I had called out here as we go to the chopper. And we're going to see these two drivers coming through the trioval, crossing the start-finish line. That dirty air, it's kind of like a bubble, and all of a sudden, Sturgill just bumps into Bricky, and they kind of get themselves reset, and then Sturgill gets sucked right up into him, coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can talk on what the aero effect is, but the big thing on that I saw, Sturgill did not give Bricky that full lane coming up with. Nothing against Sturgill. That's just normal racing. That's how it is. You know, you want to pinch that guy on the inside if you're the car on the outside because it helps minimize their run. And as these guys are going back and forth in chat right now, but that's a you can pinch him down and limit his run coming up. The downside is you put yourself at risk for exactly what happened, where Bricky thinks he's clear coming up because that's what you've given him every other lap, and you make contact. And tonight we've seen iRacing's net code be a problem, and that's what really kind of, I won't say that was the only cause of what set that wreck off, but it certainly didn't help.
No, hashtag not wrong is, that kind of thing never is helpful, so to speak. In fact, we're going to go back to Michael Sturgill one more time here on his right front suspension, and we're going to see exactly where he had made contact here coming out of turn 2. He just bumps into him, and at that point, all bets are off, and he's holding the brake, and the amount of force that these cars put themselves under becomes so great that no matter how much you're holding the brake, I mean, you're still spinning. Now, with all of that being said, that cycles the field around here as Dan Ench in the number 52 machine is now your leader here in this race. Of course, he'd last come down at lap number 9. We're now on 30. Many of these drivers, in fact, he's the only driver here on the lead lap that did not come down for pit service. So an interesting strategy that Dan Ench is working on here. Chad Simpson, Butch Davis, Chris Simard, Nate Siefker, Scott Rankin, Timothy Bates, Dan Brazington, Bentley Glaser, and Tyler Vickery are in your top 10 right now here on track. I mean, Greg, listen, it seems like this is going to be kind of a cool call if Dan Ench can make this pay off.
It is. If Ench can make it happen, like we've said, we're seeing a normal fuel run be about 36 to 40 laps. That's what we've been told. That's what we were hearing from other drivers beforehand. So Ench is 20 laps into this. But at the same time, this is also the second or third yellow of the night. So the long run hasn't happened. And why not take the gamble? You're early on enough right now. We've seen, we know tire wear is going to be a problem, but it's going to be key. And if it works great. And I believe we have a guest up into the booth, don't we, Dave?
Yeah, Dan Ench, Dave Regal, and Greg McConey up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Hey, man, listen, you're the only driver that decided to stay out here on track. Is this a strategy call here? What are you feeling right now in that number 52 machine?
Like I made a big mistake.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll grab a point where I can. I was one of the early stoppers, and I've just been taking it easy, saving some fuel, saving some tires. So I'm betting we're going to have another yellow before I need fuel.
Fair enough. We just, we looked at timing and scoring, saw that you were one of the you were the only driver that on the lead lap that didn't come down. So, was just curious what you're doing there. So, listen, man, good luck, and maybe we'll see you there in victory lane if you keep up this strategy.
Well, we're going to try it anyway and see what happens. You got to do something a little different with this bunch because they're a bunch of talented folks, and if you can't outrace them, you got to outthink them.
That's an absolutely awesome mindset to be in, man. All right, well, listen, good luck, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks a lot, man.
That, of course, was Dan Ench, driver of the number 52 machine here, and from Last Lap Motorsports. Glad to have him with us. As you just heard there, folks, he's just trying to make a different call here. Figured he saved some fuel, saved some tire, and now he's going to get that bonus point and do the best he can now.
Yeah, and that's key. And like you said, it's not that Inch isn't a fantastic driver. He is. He's been up front. We've watched him race very well all season long so far. But like he said, the talent level in this group is so high, and if you're not going to beat him on speed alone, beat him on strategy. We're early enough in the race that if something happens, there's plenty of time for him to come back, as he's going to be the leader. Once this pace car peels off now, Inch gets an early launch and catches Simpson sleeping. Inch gets to the line a half a second faster than Simpson, as he's going to go diving and rocketing through turn one, rolling this middle to bottom lane, kind of following what I know it as and the yellow is back out. Siefker looks like he's had an incident.
Yeah, we're going to take a look back here at Nate Siefker.
Oh, you know what that looks like to me? As he caught somebody else, he caught Rankin as well.
No, we see Siefker coming. Oh, yeah.
You know what that looks like to me, Dave?
That looks like cold tires.
Well, not just cold tires. That looks like Siefker may have missed an adjustment. Because like we said, these guys get to adjust the car as they go, put more front wing in, more rear wing, take it out, move the ballast around in this car. That car looked, and it snapped around so quickly, I'm wondering if Siefker may have missed the adjustment that he had for a long run, where as the tires wore and he tightened up, he moves the ballast rearward to lower that rear end. I'm wondering if he didn't kick it back forward enough so that way he came in and that car just snapped around because there was so much weight on that rear end and pulled that rear wing out of the air that there was nothing for it to grab onto.
Well, that's entirely possible. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. We're going to ride along here in the cockpit with Siefker, as it's almost like he did his Lightning McQueen impression. He said, "Oh yeah, Doc, I have to turn right to go left."
Yeah, but I'm afraid in these cars that doesn't work out too well, because when that happens, these cars gain grip so quickly that they tend to snap back to the right.
Well,
unlike
unfortunately,
on a dirt car, go ahead.
And unfortunately, he caught Scotty Rankin again. Scott Rankin has got to be frustrated. As earlier there he was, flashing, and next thing you know, neck code, and now he's got this incident going on. He's got to be frustrated tonight.
Absolutely, and it's tough to see, and you don't, being a driver that's been in that scenario where luck has not, where it feels like if you didn't have bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. It's a tough pill to swallow when that happens, and especially in these cars where if you get in a major wreck, you're pretty much done. Unlike a cup car or a truck or Xfinity, or ARCA, something like that, where if you get a little bit of damage, you hit the wall, you take 30-40 seconds, and iRacing will bump the damage out and bump it down, and you get to continue on. In these cars, being an open wheel car and with the front wing and the rear wing essentially detachable, the damage time goes up significantly because iRacing has to replicate you putting a new right front suspension on. They have to replicate putting a new nose on. They have to, it's not a quick change because they don't run a fast repair.
Speaking of the ARCA car, have you gotten a chance to take that out for a spin since its big update?
I have not.
Let me just give you a heads up. she's loose and she's fast.
Oh, that makes it so much fun.
I took her out last night just for fun at Homestead, of course, which is where the public servers are, and just in practice because I'm really trying to take care of that safety and iRating. But I took it out at Homestead, and Homestead usually a very good track for me, especially in trucks. Of course, we'll be there in a couple of weeks with Sim Racing Media, but in the meantime, I thought, let me see how this ARCA car reacts to Homestead. I could not touch the throttle without having the rear end hop out on me.
And you talk about Homestead. I was about to mention that, man, that we'll be there in a couple weeks. You, me, and a bunch of other folks from Sim Racing Media. So if you guys are going to be down for the Homestead race, let us know. You know, if that's drivers, that's fans, whatever it is, let us know. We'd love to get to meet you guys.
Yeah, Greg McConey will actually be sitting there with a table signing Greg McConey on pretty much anything that you'd like, any square piece of skin that you'd like him to sign on. Just make sure that you bring a nice gel pen for him.
Hey, skin is the only thing I don't do because I don't want people tattooing my signature on them. I'm not okay with that.
I'm getting Tony's name tattooed on me.
Oh, we're not going to go there, buddy.
I'm just saying, you know. I'm just saying.
Just saying. I'm just saying. We're getting ready. I think we're coming back to one to go.
One to go. Oh, look, the pace car lights went out. You know, sometimes I feel like, you know, it seems like we have a lot more time in these Indy cars to talk in, you know, during a caution. You know, sometimes it feels like, oh, there's the end of the caution. You know, there's the end of the pace laps. And, you know, here it seems like we're just a long time tonight. 1 minute and 36 seconds for a pace lap.
It's not the worst pace laps I've seen. You know, racing in the iRacing E-Series on Friday. That pace lap around Daytona or Talladega, that one takes a while. I think it's closer to like 2.5 minutes. But the other fun thing, Dave, we're 37 laps in of a 167 lap race. We're going a total of 250 miles tonight here at Charlotte for the Purple Heart Homes 250. And I'll give a quick synopsis of Purple Heart Homes as we're going to be coming back about halfway down the backstretch now. Purple Heart Homes is an organization that goes and will help build homes for veterans and veteran families. So, you know, one of their big things on their site is they help fill the gap in housing through the Veterans Aging in Place and Veterans Home Opportunity programs. And that could be anything from building a ramp for a veteran of World War II to help providing ownership opportunities for young veterans and families. And their programs are designed out of necessity to fit the specific needs of that veteran. Purple Heart Homes is a great organization. If people would like to donate, please go to their webpage, purplehearthomesusa.org. They have a big pink donate button up on the top right. Go there, show your love, show your support for this organization and our veterans. And we thank them for sponsoring tonight's race. And they're getting a great race to sponsor here, Dave. You know, Chad Simpson, Butch Davis, they're at it again, up at the front of the field, back and forth. And they're going to be doing this all night long, I feel.
They absolutely are. And getting involved right now, Chris Samard here in the 77 Pennzoil machine. He's getting ready to get just behind Butch Davis in that STP 43. I'll tell you what. And now, Simpson about to be chased down by Davis. I thought Davis was stepping out to see if he could get a little bit of clean air and get a run. As now he drops down to the low side. A new leader as we have Butch Davis back here on the bottom of the racetrack as he is going to pull ahead now of Chad Simpson. That'll leave him the effective race leader for the time being as now he hits that clean air and he's going to get ready to start hitting his marks and logging some laps.
Absolutely. And like we said, what you saw Butch Davis do is he wanted to get that clean air, get out of the wake of Simpson on corner exit, because by doing so, you put the grip back on your car and it allows you to make the move that you want to make and be able to stay in the throttle more and longer. So as Chad Simpson's trying to do the same thing going into one, but you see him roll high, and by doing so, he gets the run coming out down the backstretch, ducks low just like he is now, and he's going to run that thing wide open as far as he can into 3 before he has to let off in order to get the car to rotate. But look at Butch Davis. He had a great exit of 4, and he's back at the right rear quarter panel of Simpson, and Butch Davis is going to make that exact same move as they're going to come down the backstretch here, maybe, if he's close enough. Maybe. He attempted it. But
it's
look
opening.
At Simard. Now Simard's trying it too.
I was going to say, it's opening the door for Simard as Davis and Simpson have been going at it with the torches and pitchforks out. And Simard now getting ever so closer as he is now at 8, about 0.2 of a second back. Another close battle that we're watching right here is Mark McFadden and Timothy Emanuel as McFadden gets around Ludwig and now chases down Emanuel, as it looks like they're going to be going at it pretty tough too. And it looks like Tyler Vickery just whipped it down onto pit road. Let's take a look.
That's the move. Oh, it's Vickery. He went down pit road because he was trying to save that car. Ooh, caught the inside wall of pit road. That's going to hurt. Definitely lost the nose there, so he towed it back to the pit. So we'll see what happens regarding all of that now. But like we said, the way that you're going to make a pass is setting it up on corner exit, specifically out of turn 2. That is the best place that we have seen these drivers build the run to draft down the backstretch and make the dive bomb into turn 3. And that's how you need to do it. And these guys know it. You know, they were practicing it in practice. We saw them. We watched them. And now that we're in the race, certain guys like Simard could easily catch these guys, especially with them going too wide like they are right now. Simard could get there, push the envelope, dive to the bottom, and make it 3-wide battle. But there's no need. We aren't even halfway. We're barely even a quarter of the way into this race. Yeah, we're a quarter of the way in. There's no need to make a crazy move right now. Ride a little bit, clean air on your tires, and if you see an opportunity, take it. But there's no need to put yourself in a position that you don't need to be in. And that's exactly what Simard is doing.
Well, folks, listen. At this point in the race, it seems like Simpson and Davis and Simard are just going to be up here doing the old do-si-do. Chris Walker now working the inside of Dan Brazington as they are going to be side by side. As all of this goes on, we're going to step aside here on Sim Racing Media and pay some bills. I'm Dave Regal. He's Greg McConey, and this is Sim Racing Media.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS. To win in sim racing, you have to know when to send it. So pay attention. This means it's time for everyone to send it. This flag means someone sent it too hard, and now we all have to slow down. This means someone sent it so hard, we all have to go back to the pits and wait for the track to be cleared. And we don't get to send it again until we see this flag. This flag means you haven't been sending it hard enough and now need to get out of the way. When you see this flag, it's your last chance to send it. And when you see this flag, if you sent it the best, you get to do this. And remember, if you're gonna send it the best with VRS.
Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. Dave Regal and Greg McConey here on Sim Racing Media, YouTube.com. Of course, you can also check out the VRS stream over here. You can check out, the VRS Twitch and, of course, the VRS Facebook stream. Glad to have everybody with us. You know, Greg, right now with Chad Simpson atop the pile, he has finally opened up a pretty decent distance between himself and Butch Davis now, 0.6 of a second. Davis is ahead of Samard by almost the same distance. Timothy Bates then 2.3 back. I mean, it has been an interesting night so far. What say you, my friend?
I fully agree. This has been some fantastic racing. I will say I was a little worried, you know, hearing these guys saying, "Oh, we're going to Charlotte in the Indy cars." Wait a minute, guys, you're talking over 200 miles an hour at a 1.5 mile track, high banks, and it's not much bigger than 3 cars wide. But these guys have done a fantastic job here tonight, and they've put on some racing that, you know, is some of the best IndyCar racing that I've seen. And yes, I know we've seen these guys race at Richmond a couple weeks ago. We saw them at Auto Club. We've seen them at Kansas. But Charlotte is a totally different beast in itself, and these guys have tamed this track and are putting on, like I said, the best racing that I've seen, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, when you say that they've tamed it, they have definitely gotten the number of Charlotte Motor Speedway. And, you know, right now, taking a look at Nick Starling chasing down Dan Brasington, looks like Starling's dropping down to get a little bit of clean air, maybe a little bit of a drag there on Brasington. But Brasington in the Wicks, number 29, Dallara, he's holding his ground right now, Greg. I mean, you know, here's the thing. When you see a car that's not generally paired with a specific track, you kind of scratch your head and you kind of think, oh, okay, you know, I can get along with this. And when I say not normally here, check this out. And you and I were talking about it off air earlier. So the Indy Racing League, the IRL, which runs the Dallara, their track record for qualifying is 24.320, okay, in qualifying trip. Chad Simpson's best lap tonight is 24.32. Butch Davis ran a 24.32. Guess who in real life set the track record here in 1998?
I know the answer, Dave, but you better tell us.
One Tony Stewart. Perhaps you've heard of him?
Once or twice.
Yeah. I've heard he's pretty good there with the wheel and with the steering wheel and the 4 tires and the whatnot and the so on, the riboflavin. I've heard he's pretty good, but these guys are matching him here on virtual Charlotte step for step. And, we see a few other things here on the IndyCar circuit here. In race trim, the fastest time is 24.735 in the IndyCar, the Dallara IR7, also in 1998. So obviously the technology has changed a lot. But Kenny Brack was able to get 24.735 back in 98, and these guys have completely obliterated that record.
Absolutely. And like you said, technology's increased, the horsepower's increased, the aerodynamic efficiency of this car has increased 1,000-fold back in the day. But even with it, the fact that most of these guys, right now, your leader just ran a 24.94 on 40-lap old tires? He's run almost the equivalent time on 40-lap tires that they were running back in the 90s on a fresh set of rubber. It's remarkable. And the fact that iRacing has done such a good job of modeling these cars and modeling the aero and modeling the tire wear and all of that is just a key and a praise to what iRacing has done and what they've developed. Because this isn't a game. Everybody says, iRacing's a game. iRacing is a simulator, and it's one of the best simulators out there.
I would be so bold as to say it is the best simulator out there, especially with the immersion that you can put yourself in. Of course, don't get me wrong, PC has its advantages over consoles. But, iRacing itself is just so good with how you can immerse yourself. You and I have talked before. I race in a triple monitor rig. And, it feels, there are times where as far over as my monitors come, it feels like I'm in the car. And, the reality of it is they go out here and they scan these tracks. And really what it does is it makes these tracks immortal. A track like Charlotte Motor Speedway, of course, designed and built by Bruton Smith in 1959. Okay? 1959, this track was built, and here we are in 2022, knowing that it's going to be here for a long time to come. And even more so, iRacing is able to preserve these tracks. It's like it embalms them. You look at North Wilkesboro. They had North Wilkesboro scanned in and ready to rock and roll before they even revamped it this year.
Yeah. And not just that, they were able to take the scans. You talk about the scans of these tracks. Talking to what I know some people with, that that know some folks with iRacing. And these tracks are within 1/8 of an inch from the center of where they've got the motorhome showing to the tower, to the track itself, into the grandstand. Everything is within 1/8 of an inch. Think about that. And how crazy that is. So it's remarkable as we're looking right now. We've got leaders that are going to be coming onto pit road here. Our leader himself, Chad Simpson's the first one to bite the bullet, followed closely by Chris Simard.
Simard and Simpson both down pit road. That also brings along Nick Starling and Timothy Bates, Chris Walker as well. So right now in this little 5-car group, they're coming down for their pit service here on lap number 76 of 167. So less than 100 laps to go now. And Butch Davis also coming down pit road as he tried to pit just off of cycle. Brazington's got to be coming down next. Danny Ench maybe going to take a few moments yet, as well as Bentley Glaser. Of course, Glaser here in the 4 machine, right here in the middle of your screen. As a matter of fact, in that Purple Heart Dallara, he's going to cycle here to the top of the pile, not having pitted since lap number 34. And Chris Simard, something's wrong.
I heard Simard spun. Simard spun coming out of pit road. No caution's going to come out. He's going to tow it back to pit lane. But that's the risk. And the yellow's out. Yellow just came out. I'm trying to see why.
It's got to be because of Simard, because as we're going to take another look at this, we're going to see exactly how close, as we're just going to pause this for 1 second. and go here into the gyro cam. And we're going to see Simard here. He just barely touches that blue and white line here before the banking. It loosens the car enough that he just turns into a top spinning down the backstretch.
Yeah, and we heard these guys, I didn't get a chance to mention it, but these guys talked about how treacherous this apron is for the fact that, one, you don't have enough speed to create a lot of downforce on these cars, unlike what we were seeing at Auto Club and elsewhere. But with it, it's a bumpy apron. There's a lot of bumps that really upset the car, from bottoming it out to kicking the rear end up into the air. It makes them almost uncontrollable if you're trying to go fast. You have to. And Simard just, he got it wrong. You hate to say it. You hate to see a guy that's been running up front, and you hate to say it that way, but he got it wrong. So it's going to be interesting going forward, because how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys are on the lead lap. Everybody else is a lap down right now.
Absolutely. Bentley Glaser and Dan Ench both coming down pit road now. A lot of purple and white in the field tonight, so something that we definitely have to be a little careful with, but it looks like Ench going to get 4 tires, a tank of Go Fast. Glaser the same way. They're going to be the only 2 drivers that come down this time around. Ernie Ludwig getting repair. Chris Simard, of course, getting repair done. Nate Siefker still sitting on pit road, has not been out since lap number 33. Lyle Swearingen still here on pit road. He had qualified in P3, I believe, either P3 or 4, and currently still down there since lap number 8. So rough night for Swearingen, but, Swearingen and Siefker for sure. But meanwhile, that cycles Timothy Emmanuel up to the top of the pile. Butch Davis in second, Bentley Glaser in third, Dan Brazington in fourth, and rounding out the top 5, Dan Ench. And, that's going to do very well for them now that they are all on the same pit strategy, with the exception of Emmanuel, who hasn't been down since lap number 36.
Well, the interesting thing, too, is when all that happened, Butch Davis jumped Chad Simpson pit. And I'm trying to look at the times right now. I don't know exactly how it happened. I don't know if Simpson got caught up behind Simard and had to check up or what. But their pit lane times are nearly identical. Butch Davis at a 35.43, Simpson's at a 35.65. But because of that, Butch Davis now sits in second, and Chad Simpson in sixth. So that huge lead battle that we saw before has split up due to this yellow, due to green flag stops. So it'll be interesting to see what Emmanuel does now. Like we said, being on almost 50 lap old tires, and how he'll be able to hold off those behind him. I'm expecting him to be coming in rather soon, but then again, you never know. He may have found something in a fuel save that the rest of the field hasn't figured out yet. We've seen it happen before. We saw Simpson do it at Kansas. Or I'm sorry, not Kansas, Kentucky. He did it at Kentucky when we thought guys were going 30, maybe 40 laps. Simpson took it 54. Yeah, the fuel run at Kentucky was 38 to 42 laps. Simpson went 54.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's somebody who he definitely gets to understand the Green New Deal, I believe they're calling it. So obviously he's all about saving those fossil fuels instead of lighting them off. And now Timothy Emmanuel deciding on the side of caution here during the caution. See what I did there? Timothy Emmanuel deciding to err on the side of caution and come down to pit road rather than be up there and wait to get freight trained by everybody else. And just as they get to the start-finish line, we're going to see those cars getting their wave arounds now, that free pass, as that will cycle. That will cycle Butch Davis. There we go.
Yeah, Starling will get back on the lap. The big thing to remember, though, is Emmanuel now has to start at the back. Unlike if he pitted before with everybody else and he would kind of be able to cycle himself up a little bit, he is now in the back. So these drivers with the rules that they run with IndyCar, you don't get a wave around. There's no lucky dog like in NASCAR. And lap down cars don't move to the back on a restart. They stay where they're at. So you very easily, you see Butch Davis up front, but I'm trying to, between Simpson and Emmanuel, there's lap cars. And those guys are rightful to their position. They don't have to yield and move back. They can race want to try and get their lap back the hard way.
Absolutely. And as we come through the 3-4 complex, the pace car is going to dive down. And folks, this time we're going to step aside and let you watch this race as we get ready to turn it up here on Sim Racing Media.
We are under yellow here during this Turn It Up segment. Oh, Timothy Emmanuel will bring out the yellow in that black flag photography Dallara tonight. You know, Dave, he was just riding around a little bit. He got a little loose in the middle of 3 and 4, tried to save it, nicked the apron. The saving grace for him is he didn't hit anything. I thought he was going to catch that entry to pit road, but he just spun the car a couple times, kept it flat on the ground. You know, he's flat spotted those tires most definitely, but car's clean. He gets to continue on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, and just having come back from caution anyway, that's going to cycle, looks like should be Timothy Bates back onto the lead lap as the lucky dog. Chris Walker would move into that slot next. Right now, the first couple of...
Maybe because Lucky Dog in this doesn't, they run the Indy rules.
Uh-oh.
I don't think that gives them a lucky dog.
Uh-oh.
You have to be ahead of the lead. And uh-oh.
No, I'm saying never mind.
Oh.
Then I guess you're not the lucky dog.
No luck for you.
We're
no, you got it. I lied. I'm wrong. Ignore what the commentator says.
It's fine if you're wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that I've never been wrong, but one time I thought I was wrong, but it turned out I was only mistaken.
Well, there's a difference.
You see what I did there?
I saw what you did, buddy.
Yeah, just go ahead and hang out with Uncle Dave where more cheesy jokes and puns can come night in and night out. Here on Sim Racing Media, Dave Regal and Greg McConey here with you. Glad to have you along with us on YouTube.com. Of course, also over on the VRS Facebook and VRS Twitch. Glad to have everybody with us. And right now here in the YouTube live chat, make sure that you're subscribing and turning on those bell notifications for Sim Racing Media. Of course, as well as Sim Racers Edge, Sim Motion, Virtual Racing School. You know, I want to talk about VRS real quick.
Okay.
One of the things about VRS, you know, I'm a dad, so, and I work, you know, 40 plus hours a week, so I don't always have time to go out and buy a setup, especially because, to be completely honest with you and full disclosure, I only get to race one night a week. That happens to be Sunday in the Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series right here on Sim Racing Media. But, I get a little bit of practice. I get a little bit of track time before we qualify. But I don't have time to build a setup. You go on over there to VRS. Not only does VRS have the setup builders, and of course, Keegan Leahy, Coca-Cola Series driver and champion, one of the setup builders over there, but they also do a tutorial. And, how many times is it, Greg, that you put a setup in and maybe you just need a little bit of direction and there's no tutorial. It's just, here's the setup. Good luck, Chuck. I mean, that tutorial is just awesome, Greg.
Yeah, it is. And they do a great job over there at VRS. And I do have some reservations, I'll say. But no, VRS does a fantastic job with all of their setups, everything that they run, that they put out there. And like you said, the tutorials that they have show you what tweaks you need to make. Because setups, no matter where you buy them, aren't perfect for you. Everybody's got their own little nuance, their own little driving style. Prime example for me, the fix set that I run with, in iRacing, I have to change the steering ratio because of the tendencies that I have to drive. I tend to overturn the wheel. So me knowing that and not being able to adjust anything within the car during those fixed races, I use the steering ratio to help me save tires, to help me have a better handling car. VRS, they tell you how to adjust the springs. They tell you how to adjust the wing and the ballast. They tell you how to adjust tire pressure, everything down to that, to make those little nuances and changes in the setup that make it fast for you. And like we said, it's fantastic that they're here with Sim Racer's Edge as one of the primary sponsors. They do a great job. Like we said, check them out on Facebook, on their Twitch channel, which we're streaming to right now. But Dave, like you said, they're fantastic. They do a great job. They've been around in the industry so long, and they'll be here for a long time still.
Oh, they absolutely will be. And of course, this league also brought to you by the fine folks over at Sim Motion and Sim Magic, of course, partnered with VRS. And I'll tell you what, now I have yet to go to direct drive for my wheel, but I did just recently get some load cell pedals that were a hand-me-down from Bob Nestor, and I'm excited to get those, bolted onto my rig and see the difference, as everybody tells me that they make a huge difference in your driving. But go on over there to Sim Motion, check out their offerings, their equipment, as, sometimes, you'll hear somebody say, I mean, don't get me wrong, equipment isn't everything. It's certainly not the only thing, but it's definitely one of the most important things.
Oh, for sure. And while you're checking out Sim Motion Virtual Racing School, as we're getting ready to go back to green with Butch Davis coming to the green flag here on lap 91, make sure you go check out tonight's primary sponsor, Purple Heart Home. Go to their website, purplehearthomesusa.org. Go check them out. Read what they're all about. Quick synopsis: they are an organization that is designed to help provide housing solutions for service-connected, disabled, and aging veterans. They do a great job. You donate and see what they're all about. Check out other events and chapters that they've got all around the country. It's not just within one area. These guys go all around the U.S. helping out veterans and families and doing everything from, building a ramp for an aging World War II veteran to providing home ownership for younger veterans just coming back. It's a great organization. We're so happy to have them here tonight, here at Sim Racer's Edge for the Purple Heart Homes 250 at Charlotte. And like we said, Dave, check us out, and us here at Sim Racing Media. We want to make sure that we provide the shows you guys want to see. So give us a like, give us a follow, hop in the chat. As Dan Brazington's your new leader here tonight, make sure you guys hop in the chat. We want to know who you're rooting for. We love being able to interact with the fans and drivers and everybody that's here. That's why we do it. We're here to provide the show for you guys. And we want to make sure we provide what you guys want to see. And if you have any comments and such, I believe we have a suggestion box maybe somewhere. If you do, just shoot us something on Facebook. If something comes up, let us know. And if there's something you guys see, we'll let the owners know, and hopefully I'll be back next week to talk with you guys.
Speaking of...
No more of just Greg sitting in the booth chatting everybody's ears off all night.
Yeah, but listen, while you do that, while you do the old the chat routine, it gives me some time to, when a fuzzy bunny runs through my brain, I can chase that fuzzy bunny. You talk about veterans and Civil War veterans, and of course, most recently, of course, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, the war on terror. But something crossed my mind, and I couldn't help but look it up with our good friends at Google. Can you take a guess when the last American Civil War veteran passed away?
Civil War vet?
Yep.
No.
Take a swing. Now remember, the war between the states was from 1861 to 1865.
I'm going to go 1935.
You're off by 21 years.
You said take a shot, buddy.
You took a shot. You were close. You were closer than I originally would have thought. The last Civil War... Chris Walker crashed. We'll have to get back to that in just a moment.
We'll get back to fun facts with Dave here.
Chris Walker coming down the back stretch. We'll switch camera views here. Not sure if Chris had something mechanically fail.
I'm going to take a look.
No, he just seems to have pulled down.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he may have had some sort of a
hardware failure.
A hardware failure, a wheel or something went out. But yeah, that was brought out not from a wreck. Walker did pull down onto the infield, and the yellow was thrown. Focusing on driver safety, making sure nothing else happened with these guys going over 200 miles an hour, closer to the 220 range. The last thing you is a little incident, sending a car spinning into a parked car, because that would not be good. As the leaders are on pit road, Dave.
The leaders do come down pit road. We'll take a look here.
Aside for Tim Bates.
Wholesale pit stops, and while they do that, now it's almost like verbal diarrhea. I can't hold this one back at all. The last active duty Civil War, so the last Civil War vet to have seen combat was a man by the name of James Hard. James Hard was born July 15th, 1843, and died March 12th, 1953. He was 109 and 240 days old.
Huh.
Yeah. How about that?
Fun facts with Dave Regal.
Listen, it's one of those things, and I'll tell you how I found James Hard, because it's when you start clicking the links. Originally, so the actual last known surviving member of the Union Army who passed away was a man named Albert Henry Woolson. However, he was not an infantryman or a cavalryman. He was a drummer, and he was also the last surviving Civil War vet on either side whose status is undisputed. And he had passed away. He was born originally in 1850, February 11th, and passed away August 2nd, 1956. So, can you imagine everything that he saw in his lifetime from pre-Civil War through the Civil War, the Industrial Revolution, then you get into the two great wars, the war to end all wars, then the next war to end all wars, all of the things on Earth that changed through his life, and it makes me curious to see what you and I are gonna see, Greg.
Oh yeah, where technology is taking us now is remarkable, and that kind of goes back to what we said with iRacing. Dave, you and I get to sit in our homes. I'm sitting in Michigan right now, and we get to sit and use Discord to communicate watching a live stream of this race, essentially, and we get to call it out. You know, there's no more of this having to sit right next to the guy in the same booth, you know, like you see in NASCAR, and these guys get to race with each other from all across the world. You know, I've raced with guys in Australia, and in fact, there's 2 new Australia drivers here tonight. I'm looking up their names because they just had them in the Discord a minute ago. I saw them before. I apologize. Wrong chat. That would do it. Scott Rankin and Connor Nixon, both from Australia tonight, with the guys that are racing here in the state. It's remarkable where technology is, and I'm excited, like you said, to see where it goes, Dave.
Yeah, I think that's well articulated. It's remarkable. I mean, you know, I'm 33. I'll be 34 in November. And I think back to being about 5 or 6 years old when we got our first computer, dial-up internet, a 56K modem. And, you know, you have to remember, at one time, your modem wasn't even built into the computer. It had to be a little separate box that sat next to your computer that plugged into the phone line. Folks, kids at home, a phone line was a funny thing that connected to a pole outside, and through that is how you communicated with people outside of your house. It wasn't just something that you kept in your back pocket and could call from the toilet of your local Golden Corral.
Well, Dave, along with that too, racing. You know, I remember playing video games when I was a kid, and you had to have everybody sitting in the same room playing on the same console with controllers right next to each other playing split screen. Now I can sit at home and race with anybody around the world on iRacing whenever I want.
I have to be honest, I do not miss the days of the split screen.
What? Were you a split screen cheater?
Oh, no, I hated it. I hated the split screen because, you know, I mean, I was used to just having an entire screen just to myself. And no, I had a friend who was a vicious split screen thief, or even worse, when Madden started letting you, you know, select your plays and being able to hide it. I had somebody who was vicious at figuring out which play you were about to call.
Oh, yeah. Dave, I've got to reel us back as Timothy Bates takes us back to green to start lap 103 tonight for the Purple Heart Homes 250 at Charlotte here at Sim Racer's Edge. I'm Greg McConey. Dave Regal joins me in the booth tonight. You're watching Sim Racer's Edge on Sim Racing Media. You know, we talked before. Timothy Bates hit it on lap 88. Everybody else came in at 99, all the way back to Kevin O'Brien, who pitted on lap 100.
You English real good.
I do a great job, buddy. But there's a lot of great fights going on right now. Bates had a big jump, but Dan Brazington on those 11 lap newer tires has run him down, and he's trying to make the pass on the outside as they come into the front stretch here, about to cross the line to start lap 105 of 167 here.
Yeah, just over 60 laps to go here. Right now, still running 24.35 second laps. In fact, even better, looks like, and I'm just kind of cruising around here, but Chad Simpson ran as fast as a 24.29, and that was his last lap, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. No, and the speeds are going to continue to pick up. We started with track temp at 79. Track temp has still stayed at 79 right now, as both Bates and Butch Davis get around Dan Brazington. Butch Davis dives down to the inside going into turn 3. He's going to make that slide job, as they call it. And Butch Davis back to the front here. Lap 106 in the books, 107 on the board. Here comes Timothy Bates looking to that outside. He has to check up a little bit in order not to get into the back of Davis. But we got another great fight up front here. And this time, the top 4 are all within tenths of each other.
And Timothy Bates coming, he was just looking on the bottom, chooses against it now. As we see these speeds, as you had just mentioned, picking up slowly but surely. Of course, I say slowly with my tongue in cheek for sure. We're at 220 plus going into turn number 3 here. I mean, just something that's absolutely incredible. And
I saw Bates at 225 there.
Yeah, 225 is Bates, who is just on the low side. the car doesn't even tighten up like that. In fact, one of our closer races on track tonight, I mean, right now from first to fourth, it is an absolute slugfest, Greg. And right now, since we got interrupted the last time, let's step aside and let you folks turn it up here at home on Sim Racing Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purple Heart Homes 250 at Charlotte. here at Sim Racer's Edge. I'm Greg McConey. Dave Regal joins me in the booth. You're watching Sim Racing Media. Dave, we saw some fantastic battles going on during break, but before we get to that, we got a note in YouTube chat here from Joel Dalton. He said the number 21, that Timmy has served 26 years in the Army. From myself and Dave, I'm sure you echo this as well. We want to thank you, Tim Bates, in that 21 car, for your service and for your dedication to this country. As Dan Inch looks like he's had a little accident. No yellow is on the track yet. I'm going back to take a look and see what might have happened. Oh, geez. Oh, no. So, wasn't an accident. He blinked out, and when he reappeared, the car was shattered and destroyed in pieces. But Dan Inch, nothing has happened. He is still good to go. Riding around in about 7th place right now, on track here. Butch Davis still your leader. Bentley Glaser right on his tail now. Dave, we've seen a heck of a fight here tonight between all these drivers.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen everything here, especially in this top 8 with 8 cars on the lead lap. Nothing but excitement. I mean, right now, the closest battle on the track itself is between Butch Davis and Bentley Glaser, just a quarter of a second separating them. Everybody else basically from 4th through 6th battling it out about just under half a second. And you can see that here in your battles box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. I mean, these drivers have put the time in, they've put the work in on these cars and on this setup to make it just right for themselves. And it's paying off tonight, especially for Butch Davis. And it's not often that I've gotten to say that Bentley Glaser is running in second. Of course, he has been dominant over in the Western States Racing League on a Tuesday night, right here on Sim Racing Media. They're in season number 47. 47 seasons, Greg.
Yeah, and that's like you said, they race twice a year, but even still, or 2 seasons a year, but even still, that is remarkable that league has been around for so long.
Yeah, they were around during the papyrus days. They were around during, dial-up internet. And, I mean, and they've had one man
there, huh?
Yeah, and they've had one man at the helm, Mr. Bob Beltrami. And, I got to be honest, knowing that it's one person who has dealt with everything that being a league admin or a league owner entails, he should probably be canonized as a saint when he goes to see Jesus. Because you know as well as I do that in so many leagues, on the iRacing.com servers that sometimes you're involved in, like myself as a driver or you as a driver, those league admins go through a lot. You've got people that make comments and complaints and things like that where, and then you've got other drivers that are just there to have fun. It's the way that I unwind at the end of a week or actually before I start my week. It's a situation where those people put up with so much. And I know that even here in Sim Racer's Edge that, the league admins are always working to make it better, to make it different. Even with Nate Siefker and Mikey Bourne there in the race control tower, Butch Davis in FBR Motorsports always, active and trying to keep things moving. There's a lot of work that goes into this.
Oh, for sure. And I can second that, everything that you just said, Dave. I help admin on Friday nights for the iRacing E-Series, broadcasted by Sim Racing Media. And there's a lot. And when most of these guys or gals that admin leagues do it on top of their normal, 9-to-5 job, it is remarkable when you get to see leagues thrive like they have.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Sim Racer's Edge has been around for a long time, too. iRacing East has been around for, I think we're coming up on 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. You know, we've been around, and it takes a lot. And when you have one guy running the helm for that whole time, it's a testament to them to see their baby thrive.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that I always have to think about is, just as you said, you know, perfectly, that so many of these drivers have a day job, you know, and still manage to run some of the best leagues on the iRacing servers. You know, Rhea Ferris and the ISNF series is a perfect example. She is, let's just say, particular and more thorough than an enema. She makes sure that before the green flag drops, that everybody knows their job and that everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. As Timothy Bates is getting ready to come down pit road, you know, Rhea makes sure that whole league, the presentation on a Sunday afternoon, is perfect. And at the same time, she's still a truck driver. She still has to get back off the road, and she puts so much work into these things. I don't know when she has the time to sleep or eat.
Yeah, and you see the guys and gals that run they do a great job. But on top of that, they have a supporting cast of, whether they're drivers or a live admin or whatever, that help them out significantly. As right now, Timothy Bates pulls off a pit road. He was on there a total of 8.22 seconds. That's a fuel-only stop, Dave.
And that fuel-only stop means that he's got the confidence in that rubber that he doesn't think he needs to stop again.
No, and we've seen right now the leaders. You know, Butch Davis right now, his best 24.3. His last lap was 24.9. So, you know, 3/4 of a second difference. Dan Inch is on pit road as well. And that Alzheimer's car right there. Beautiful paint scheme. Alzheimer's awareness, I believe it is.
And we see him getting what looks to be 4 tires and a tank of Go Fast. And I lied.
Brazington is
in
as well.
He's the same way, fuel only.
Chad Simpson will be coming down. I'm a little surprised at fuel only. You know, with the single lug nuts that these cars have, is wow, Simpson dives it in deep. But he timed it perfectly. He should be good to go. Paul Crumry. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, Paul. He's on pit road as well. Butch Davis is still out there. Nope. Butch Davis makes a liar of me, and he comes into the pit this time.
There was a meeting. He's probably listening to the live feed of you and I and decided, okay, now.
Other people have come in, and here I come.
And here we are on lap number 140 of 167 of the Sim Racer's Edge. Purple Heart Homes. My goodness, I just screwed up the sponsor name. Let's try this again. Purple Heart Homes 250. There we go. That just rolls right off the tongue. It took me an entire lap. It's now lap 141. I'm Dave Regal. He's Greg McConey. And this is SRM. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are going through these green flag pit stops, we are going to step aside and hear from our good friends over at Sim Racer's Edge.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRacing roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway as we are now at 19 laps to go here in the Purple Heart Homes 250 on Sim Racing Media. Dave Regal here at the microphone alongside my good friend, Mr. Greg McConey. Butch Davis out here at the top of the pile with a 2.73 second lead over second place Bentley Glaser in the Purple Heart Homes number 4 Dallara. Chad Simpson in the 42 running in third position. Now he, of course, your original pole sitter. Nick Starling in fourth. Timothy Bates running in fifth. Dan Brazington in sixth. And your last car on the lead lap, Mr. Dan Ench in the End Alzheimer's number 52 Dallara, rounding out the top 7. And all of the cars here on the lead lap is, you know what, Greg? I mean, we've seen some great racing tonight. And with 17 laps to go, I can't believe we're even here.
No, we've seen such a long green flag run right now. These guys have done so well. And the fact that we're at 17 laps to go, we've seen what should be the money stop, Dave, for these guys pitting under green. You know, and I was a little surprised to see Butch Davis come in like he did and still retain that lead. You know, that's just a testament to, like we said, they were running about 3/4 of a second faster on their fastest laps on new tires versus what they were running after that 40-lap run or so. But Butch Davis did a great job. Bentley Glaser also, he pitted 3 laps after Davis did on lap 142, and he's still sitting in second place right now.
You know, here's the thing, though. Bentley Glaser, the kind of driver that I can see suddenly deciding that it's time to turn it on. It's almost like I feel like he's saving right now. But, you know, with now 15 laps to go as they are just melting away here like a snow cone in Arizona, I mean, I think that we're going to start to see Bentley Glaser try to close this gap between himself and Butch Davis. You can check that out here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen in the battle box, as we call it, here at SRM. Of course, I click the battle box, and it promptly does not show up.
Because why would it?
Because of distance.
But
It's fine for
even
Dan
with that,
Brazington back here, who's only trailing Timothy Bates by 0.2 of a second. But where Butch Davis, Bentley Glaser, and Chad Simpson are all more than a second and a half apart, it doesn't make much sense to even try to call that a battle.
oh, that's true. I'll give you that. But even with that, Bentley Glaser is not gaining on Butch Davis right now. Butch Davis is at 2.6, 2.7 seconds up. And the big thing has been that Butch Davis has ridden the bottom line all night long. Whereas Bentley Glaser, he's kind of been hovering about that lane to lane and a half up the track. And Butch Davis rolling that bottom has done such a nice job with it.
He absolutely has. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say he's got to be a little careful right now, as right ahead of him he has Jeffrey Roulette, who is still turning laps. He is currently about 26 laps down at the moment. You know, Butch Davis has been in clean air. He's got to be careful. And there goes Roulette, staying to the high side, let Butch Davis get down low. You know, we saw Dirty Air be critical tonight. And through all that, Bentley Glaser closed in about 3.5 tenths of a second. As we are now at 10 to go, Dave, but with Butch Davis coming out of turn 2 into this long backstretch, you know, we've seen a heck of a race like we've been saying all night long. This isn't necessarily a car combo with the track that you'd expect. But these guys have, aside for a couple incidents early on, these guys have done a fantastic job here tonight.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things here is, you know, we keep saying that this has been one of the best races that we've seen all week, that this is one of the greatest races. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a cliche. You know, we both, between Greg and I, probably see or are part of a minimum of 5 races a week of some persuasion. Yeah. You know, I mean, and there's guys like Tony who are doing it 7 days a week, 6 days a week. You know, here's the thing. We get to see a whole lot out here on the iRacing.com servers. With what we do with SRM, what I do with the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series over on the Independence Racing Network, you know, what a lot of us get to see here, this can be compared. This can absolutely be compared. Greg, I covered on Tuesday night. Yeah, it was Tuesday night. I usually do the Rick Matek Extreme Scoring.info Cup Series here on Sim Racing Media. We were at Talladega for 94 laps. Would you care to wonder how many laps were under caution?
Let's see. Normal caution is about 3 laps per. I'm going to say 3 laps.
And a total of how many cautions do you think there were in 94 laps?
1.
None.
Oh, so close.
Not a one. We went green flag to checkered flag with not one single breath in between. At Talladega, that's like a white whale.
It is. And for those that watch us, myself, I race in the iRacing E Series on Fridays. This year we haven't been as good, but we've had several races where we've had, 80 laps, start of the race to the end, flag, and it makes it so much fun, Dave. But we're at 5 to go. This race is winding down. Butch Davis is into 3, rolls down to the bottom, comes out with a good straight launch out of turn 4. He's got almost a 4.25 second lead right now, back to Bentley Glaser. We're at 4 to go right now, and Butch Davis is still out front.
Yeah, it looks like Bentley Glaser may have decided that he wanted to make me look like a clown and not push any harder, as now it looks like he's getting ready to try to hold off Chad Simpson, who's just less than half a second underneath him. So, Simpson right now trying to make an effort to get on that middle step of the podium, but I think it may be just too late.
Yeah, with 3 laps to go, you never know, though. These guys, a lot of these guys, we don't think took tires under that last stop. So they're running, 50, 60 lap old tires right now? We've seen right front tire wear be an issue. If Bentley Glaser pushed it too hard, you never know. That gap's now down to half a second as Butch Davis comes across the line. 2 laps, popsicle sticks in the air, Dave.
Popsicle sticks they are, and with 2 to go, Butch Davis leads this piece with a 4.57 second lead over Mr. Bentley Glaser in the number 4 Purple Heart Homes Dallara machine. Chad Simpson running in 3rd right now. only 0.3 of a second behind Glaser.
Yeah, he's going to have a shot as Butch Davis has now taken this white flag, folks. Next flag is going to end this. We are coming back around. Butch Davis gets a great run down onto the backstretch. He's in the clear right now. Starts to weave and wag a little bit. Chad Simpson jumping back to that battle for second. He's going to have one shot, but I don't think he's close enough. But coming out of 4, crossing the line, Butch Davis, your winner here for the Purple Heart Homes 250 at Charlotte on Sim Racer's Edge. Bentley Glaser takes second. Chad Simpson finishes third. Nick Starling, Timothy Bates round out your top 5 here tonight, Steve.
Absolutely. And just 7 cars on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap is Dan Ench in the number 52 and Alzheimer's Delara. And Tony, this has been an incredible race. I'm sorry, Greg, this has been I'm sorry. I'll never cuss at you again live on air. That's a reflex. I'm going to have to apologize to him.
No, this has been so much fun watching these guys. As you see, Davis and Simpson decide to go through the front stretch chicane here used for the Roval, and that was fantastic. Now we're gonna sit here and watch Butch Davis do some burnouts as we get ready to bring our top 3 up to the booth. I got him coming up.
Butch Davis, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, Upper Deerfield, New Jersey must be proud of you tonight as you held it together for quite a long time here, basically fighting in this top 3 all night. How was that car feeling?
It was definitely sketchy at times. Definitely had to work the in-car tools, to deal with the dirty air. And, man, saved my butt was the pit stop. That's really what got me the gap I needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could totally understand the way that that pit stop paid off for you. I mean, the setups week in and week out seem like they're very, very good. And quite frankly, I'm always curious exactly how you can make those adjustments on the fly. And, Greg was basically trying to analyze that as you drove. I mean, the 43 car tonight comes home the victor. Before we cut you loose, who do you have to tip that helmet to?
I definitely want to thank all my teammates at FBR Motorsports. Quick shout out to Larry. He's been MIA for a little while, but glad to hear he's in better health. Thanks to you guys up in the booth, our sponsors, SimMotion and VRS. Thank you to Purple Heart Homes for coming on board for this race. Thanks to my family for letting me indulge, and all my friends and stuff watching.
All right, man. Well, listen, next week we switch gears yet again as I'm pulling up the schedule once more. It just disappeared off my screen because why not? I have to love it.
We're off
next week. You're off. Next week you're off, and then we go to Interlagos on October 13th, live at 8:10 p.m. So definitely a huge swing. I guess the off week is definitely going to be necessary for practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, we have a rather large gathering of league members that's going to happen at the Charlotte Roval next week. So we're going to party, and everybody's going to be entirely too tore up to drive. So we're skipping next week and reconvene at Interlagos. Hopefully everybody, uses the time off and gets practice in.
All right, man. Well, listen, have a great time at Charlotte Roval, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great night.
Thank you. And Greg, I believe that you either have or are getting Bentley Glaser.
I do. I've got Bentley Glaser up here in the booth. Bentley, Greg McConey, man, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
We are fantastic. You guys put on a heck of a show here tonight. We were just in awe at what these cars were able to do. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, it was a lot of attrition, so I was kind of keeping out of trouble. There was a wreck. When Nate wrecked, I went down, and I forgot, I usually drive stock cars, so you can just go right through the grass. And I went through the grass and immediately spun out and almost wrecked. But then I was able to have more fuel than everybody, and then that caution came out, and I got all the track position back.
Yeah, you talk about getting track position, man. You were up front there all night long for the most part. I know you started in 7th, worked your way up towards the front there. We saw in that last pit stop that it looked like you guys weren't taking tires, only being in the pits about 8.5 seconds. We heard right front tire wear was going to be rough tonight. Was that the case?
Yeah, I was getting pretty tight, but on the last run there, I didn't have any traffic, so I was going pretty fast, and I was getting really loose. About wrecked once, and then Chad was catching me, and I just ran his line so he couldn't get the air. And just held him off, luckily. And Butch was fine. I was kind of like conservative on the pit entry, but I was too loose to even catch Butch or anything, so great win to him.
Yeah, you talked about taking away the air of Simpson there under the end there. Was dirty air a major problem for you guys?
Yeah, and for me, I don't know, a lot more. It just seems like I couldn't really make a lot of passes in traffic, and a lot of these other guys can, so I'm still trying to figure that out, where to put your car to make it fast, but definitely dirty air was huge here.
Well, man, you ran a heck of a race. You guys get an off week next week. Go sit and relax. But is there anybody you have to thank for this second place finish here tonight?
I got to thank all my teammates at OGR. I got to thank Purple Heart Homes, and they sponsored the race, so thanks for that. Thanks to everybody at SRE.
All right, Bentley. Ladies and gentlemen, your second place finisher tonight, Bentley Glaser. Congratulations again, man.
Thank you.
And Dave, I think we've got our last podium finisher coming up to the booth now.
Chad Simpson, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Hey, man, listen, great run tonight. You finished here on the podium, although, as the pole sitter, I guess you kind of expected to be, maybe in victory lane tonight, but you still finished on the podium. You didn't really drop anywhere except for just 2 behind where you had started. I mean, how is this car feeling? Take us through, those last couple of laps after the money stop. I mean, you were really pushing hard.
Yeah, well, I made a mistake on the last stop. I accidentally went plus 20 on the jacker leaving pit road and really had to tiptoe. I lost a lot of time before I realized I made that mistake. So I was just trying as much as I could to loosen the car up and run down Bentley. He had a little issue with some lap traffic, and it helped me catch him, but then he's mirror driving me there, 2 to go. So it wasn't really a lot that I could do. Maybe if I don't make a mistake there, I could grab second, but it was a good podium anyway. Congratulations to Butch. Congratulations to Bentley.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 of you guys here on the podium tonight, put together a great race. I mean, all night long you were going at it. I mean, it didn't help that, earlier on in the race, somewhere in and around like lap 76, I mean, half the field had gotten taken out. So, just a few cars left on the lead lap, 7 to be specific. I mean, and you being obviously one of those top 3, that's got to be a pretty good feeling to basically, quote unquote, survive. So before we cut you loose here, who do you need to tip your cap to for this run tonight?
We have to thank SimMotion, our sponsor, VRS, Purple Heart Homes coming on to sponsor this race, Satellite Racing, FBR Motorsports, Butch helping me out up front. We were doing the whole battle thing for the first half, got caught out by that yellow, which hindered me more than it did him because I got stuck a lap down and had to take the lucky dog, and he didn't. So he was able to stay up there, and I had to kind of work my way back through. Everybody did a decent job second half. We kind of knew this race was going to be a little bit of a bloodbath and a little bit of survival. So we'll see. We'll see how the attitudes are with some people after this one.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, listen, congratulations on that podium finish tonight, and we will see you in 2 weeks and as we get ready to go back road racing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Interlaga is one of the few F1 tracks that I actually seem comfortable at, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, my man. Well, thank you and have a great night.
See you guys.
Well, Greg, another one in the books here in the Sim Racers Edge IndyCar series. I got to tell you, every week it just seems like they surprise me or find a new way to surprise me. And these guys tonight, pretty clean race overall. Nothing out of the ordinary, so to speak. Nobody out here driving like they had a V plow on the front of the machine. So, all in all, I think a great race. We're going to take a look here at our final results right here in the middle of your screen. Roll that beautiful bean footage as we go through here and look at Butch Davis sitting atop the pile in the number 43 STP Dallara machine. Bentley Glaser in that Purple Heart Homes number 4 Dallara. Chad Simpson in the 42 rounds out your podium. Nick Starling finishes in 4th. Timothy Bates in 5th. Dan Brazington in 6th. Danny Ench in the Alzheimer's Awareness number 52 finishes in 7th, up 4 spots from where he had begun. Kevin O'Brien, your big mover of the night, up 17 spots, finishing in 8th. Mark McFadden in the 5 car, our birthday boy last week, finishes in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Timothy Emmanuel in the 39, finishing in 10th spot.
Paul Kramer finished 11th. Jeffrey Roulette in 12th here tonight. Chris Walker finished in 13th after getting involved in that incident. Ernie Ludwig comes home in 14th. Chris Amard in 15th. Tyler Vickery in 16th. Scott Rankin in 17th. Nate Siefker finishes tonight in 18th place. Michael Sturgill in 19th. Joe Brecky in 20th. Jeff Hollingsworth comes home 21st with Mike Grandy 22nd. Carl Burke and Lyle Swearingen round out the cars that started here tonight. Here at Charlotte, and Dave, it's been a pleasure having you in the booth, my friend. For everybody listening, we will be back to our regularly scheduled broadcasters when we return at Interlagos in a week. Dave, like I said, man, it's always a pleasure whenever you and I get to be in the booth together. We always put on we put on a show. We have a good time, and you know, you helped me get into this. You helped me get started, and you know, man, I haven't looked back. Got me going.
No, and it's always a pleasure when I get to hang out with a friend and, you know, basically get to watch a race with my buddy. So, you know, as always, Greg, great to be with you. And at this point in the night, Greg, I think it's time you drive us home.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Dave, thank you again for joining me. It's been so much fun. I hope we get to do this again. For everybody listening, thank you for tuning in on Facebook for Virtual Racing School, and on their Twitch, as everybody else that joined us here on YouTube for Sim Racing Media. My name's Greg McConey, my partner in crime, Dave Regal, here tonight. We want to leave you guys with one final reminder. Keep your foot to the floor, car off the wall, and we'll see you back here at SRM. Good night, everybody.